Hi, everyone. It's Lisa here, and I'm with my dear friend and former colleague, Kalyan Balaven. You know, the CATDC provides leadership opportunities. It provides opportunities for people at the very beginning of their journey. I just left Teaching Foundations today to talk with Kalyan virtually about leadership. And Kalyan has been both a facilitator and a participant of CATDC programming. He led a workshop on anti-bias training, because that was 2 years ago now. And he was a member of our 2017 cohort of Leadership Fellows. He currently works as Director of Teaching and Learning at the Athenian School, where I spent 26 years of my career. Kalyan and I met as humanities teachers first and foremost, and then worked more closely together when I became Dean of Faculty and he was the Director of Equity and Inclusion. And when I stepped away 2 years ago, you were just on the threshold of this new position, Kalyan, which is a 6 through 12 leadership position. And leaving Athenian, I really missed being and working with you. And I'm so glad you could join me today. I know that you are extremely busy, and I appreciate your time. So tell me, how are you being stretched now in this time of COVID and given the racial reckoning that we're in? How are you being stretched as a leader?
Interesting times. I think COVID is a mixed blessing as well as a curse, right? It's clarifying and helping to understand how far we are from dealing with racial justice or racial injustice, really. You can't put Band-Aids on COVID. It's a life-threatening thing. We have to take measures that are real. We have to shut down schools, sanitize, mask up, think about classroom ratios, etc. We shut down our schools overnight, and we did it because we saw this as a life and death imperative. Racial injustice has been a life and death imperative for a lot longer, the entire history of this country, but we don't treat it as an imperative in the same way because it doesn't impact the majority. And this time, we need to be anti-racist in the same way we're engaged with safety for COVID. And it's kind of poetic because being safe for COVID means being at a distance and opening at a distance in many of our schools, which creates the need for healthy community building because that's what we lose when we're at a distance. But healthy community is the fundamental first step in anti-racism work. So they're interrelated, right? And they can inform each other. And we can walk along the same path of saying, okay, we're preserving the safety and building the community because that's preserving our mental and emotional safety of our community. But we have to approach it as racial justice work not being seen as a special interest, nor is it a value that can be prescribed and interpreted, but it is an imperative, and we have to approach it in that way.
So you've spoken to this to some degree, but what should those who are in positions of leadership in independent schools right now be prioritizing for their students and their school communities?
Well, I think it's the answer today is the same answer last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Probably would call it differently now. I'd probably label it as intercultural fluency, which is the ability for us to kind of extend ourselves, mind, body, and spirit to others, to empathize, to live in their intellectual space, share their energy. This may seem like hard to do over distance, but it's not impossible. It's important that we shift from evaluation to support, to focus on the idea of creating classroom community. And the learning will come easily once that's created. So specifically, how do we embolden and empower faculty to find themselves, to find their inner strengths, their passion? Because whether it's in the classroom, online, or otherwise, if you have that, students are able to connect when teachers bring the passion to their craft. Right. And so how do you cultivate that? How do you bring that out? How do you draw that out? And so that's the key for me, I think, in terms of being a leader in this time, is to try to cultivate that and also bring that out of your colleagues, empower them to be themselves as much as they can with this veil in front of us. Right?
Yeah, it seems to me like we're finding ways to move beyond the veil, even though it's there. So yeah, thank you for that. Reminds me of how we often talked at Athenian about teaching through relationship.
Yes.
So what about leaders prioritizing their own self-care? What are you prioritizing in terms of sustaining yourself through this time of, great challenge and change?
I'm going to answer this question in an aspirational way. I don't think I do this. I don't think most people can do this right now. We feel like the burden of in the moments of crisis, there's a burden on leadership, as it should be, to do the things that leadership can to facilitate the things that will happen on the ground for faculty, for families, and for students primarily. And so the answer is to kind of find balance, to take care of yourself, which is a growth area for me regularly. But it's a truth. And so you can't do the work in the community and hold the community together if you're not whole yourself. So you really got to engage with yourself and self-assess and say, well, am I stretched too thin in this moment in time? Do I need to take a break? Do I need to take a day, weekend, go on a run, take care of myself in other ways? Whatever it is that you need, the meditation that you need in order to be fully present for the community and deal with the problems at hand. It's a multifaceted issue. And so you asked me the question about being stretched. You're stretched in very different directions. And so you need to be able to come back together, right? And find that time for yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, some beautiful, some words of wisdom there. And I definitely relate with this being aspirational as well.
Yeah.
So turning for a moment to Leadership Fellows, I know this was a couple of years ago now for you,
Yeah.
but we're getting ready to, we're already receiving applications for our cohort this year. And I think it would be useful for people to hear how this program has supported you in your own development and growth as a leader.
Yeah, it's a great program. I don't think it gets the attention that it deserves. There are a lot of leadership oriented programs out there, and I have colleagues done a lot of them, and there's overlap between the types of programming that's involved. But what I loved about the Leadership Fellows is that it's California based, right? You have folks in California, and it's interesting when you talk about where we are in California in relationship to other states, in relationship to DEIC work, in relationship to response to COVID, et cetera. There's a level you learn from your cohort, which is powerful. The greatest gift for me, Leadership Core gave was a clear glimpse at myself. What were my strengths? What were my growth areas? And ultimately what my story was. And the story piece was so powerful. We did that early on in the cohort, but it stayed with me throughout, and it stayed with me to this day. It's like the reason why you do what you do. It becomes a kind of a North Star guiding you in those difficult moments and decisions and times when you're stretched. And it kind of shines on you, like it shines light on your innovation. It kind of like the light bulb moments. And it keeps you in relationship. It keeps you centered in relationship to students, families, administration, your career, right? Understanding where that is. And I think ultimately it helps you in understanding where you need to be in your career. And so I know that a lot of leadership programs out there kind of steer people towards, okay, be open to all types of schools and be open to this, right? And Leadership Courts, said that too, but it said, but know who you are, right? And know how far you can go, right? And how, where you'd be stretched and where your areas of growth are, and how you need to be supported in the communities that you can go in to lead. And so I felt all those things were really strong, and I've stayed connected with all those folks, invaluable connections, right? And I almost feel like I'd love to do it year after year, just for the cohort, right? The cohort's amazing. And the folks that helped lead the program when I did it, Debbie and Ravita, I stay connected with them, and they remain coaches for me in my career. And that is priceless.
Thank you, Kalyan. Thank you for sharing your story with us today, and really opening up to what your why is as a leader. And we hope to see you back with some more leadership at CATDC,
Sure.
As well as participation. And then for all of you out there in the community, We hope you'll take a look at the Leadership Fellows program and some of our other offerings. No matter where you are in your career, there's something for you with CATDC, and especially as Kalyan is saying, in terms of the community cohort that can be developed, our ongoing programs, we're starting to get those enrolled as well, beyond Leadership Fellows. So thank you again, Kalyan. Good luck to you as you start this year. It's going to be a challenging year, and we are up for it, I think.
Yes, agreed.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, CATDC. Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.